Hey guys, Brandon Woolham hanging out in Nashville with our friend Justin Gambino. How are you, man?
I'm good, man. How are you?
Good. Saw you were coming to Nashville. It's like it's been a minute. I got to see
Yeah.
Justin.
Last time I was here, released the Christmas single, and I was doing that. But yeah, so it's been a minute.
Yeah, since I've seen you, I have a whole new brand that I'm working with, and they probably don't know the Justin Gambino story.
That's all right.
So let's start there. Let's tell them a little bit of this Justin testimony.
Oh man, where should I start? I feel like a lot of testimonies start out saying like grew up in church. That was a big part of my story. You know, grew up one of six kids, so big family, always going to church, always really involved in the church. At the age of 15 is when I got my first guitar. That's when I started learning how to play guitar. And I look back, the more I share my testimony, I look back and I can see just how much the enemy was paying attention. So whenever God put that guitar in my hands, because that's right whenever I got my first job, and I get introduced to a completely different crowd than what I was raised around. So 15 to 18 years old, I start going down this slippery slope of partying, getting addicted to alcohol, and starting to break and enter, commit theft. 2 months after I graduate, I'm standing before a judge looking at 2 years in jail with a felony on my record. And that judge looked at me and he said, I've never seen you before. What are you doing here? Like, you're a good kid. You were homeschooled. And Brandon, you're probably thinking like, that's what's wrong with Justin. No, I was homeschooled my whole life, raised in church. And this judge is like, what are you doing here? Like, why is a good kid here? You just took a wrong turn. And I feel like you need a second chance. So I'm going to give you a choice today. You can go to jail today, 2 years tops, felony on your record, or I'd like to give you the option to join the military. And so that judge had a lot of mercy on me, and I decided to join the Navy. I served 8 years in the Navy, and it was halfway through my first deployment. I was in Iraq. It was on a Wednesday night, and I hadn't been to church in months at this point. I had put God on the back burner. Didn't want anything to do with God. And I went to church Wednesday night, and they had no one to lead worship. And the chaplain asked all 12 of us in this little chapel in Iraq, said, does anybody in here know how to play guitar, know how to lead worship? And I'm thinking to myself, there's absolutely no way that God brought me all this way for me to be the only person in this room to be able to fill this need. And next thing I know, I'm calling my dad back home, asking him to ship me my guitar that's collecting dust back in Texas. And that's whenever God put the guitar back in my hands. And man, we can keep going with the testimony, but that is like, I feel like it's a good stopping point.
Because it's still going. The testimony is still growing day by day.
Testimony is still going today, man. Yeah, I would say that whenever I came back from Iraq, I thought like, hey, I kind of got this fresh start. I can come back home. I have this new appreciation for this freedom that I have, that I've been fighting for, that I used to take for granted. And now I'm coming back home with now I'm coming back with depression and just anything will set me off, because now I see all my friends and family taking for granted what I took for granted. And now I appreciate different things coming back from a war zone. And now I'm getting mad. I got anger issues. I got PTSD and all this stuff. And now I'm to a point where like I can't end a day without a drink. Now whenever I drink, I have suicidal thoughts. And it's getting pretty bad. Here God comes again through a friend and a mentor saying, hey, why don't you grab your guitar? Come help me lead worship at this Bible study that we have every Friday night. So I started doing that, and I started writing songs. Now this is years ago, man. This is 2010, 2011. Fast forward 2015, I quit my job. I started doing music full time. This June will be 10 years since I quit my day job, and went on this wild journey of doing music. But it wasn't until 2020, that's whenever my story comes full circle. After several months after everything shut down, my tour canceled, all the shutdowns, social distancing, and all that stuff. I'm out on the road in September, October timeframe of 2020, and the Lord says, Justin, I want you to go home and I want you to do a night of revival for your hometown. And I was like, okay, Lord, I feel like I'm listening to what you're saying, and I want to respond to that. Where do you want me to do this night of revival? I want you to do it at the courthouse. And I said, yeah, no. You're going to have to pick a different venue or a different servant, because I don't want to go back to the place where I have bad memories. And I lost that argument with the Lord, obviously, because this December, now we're 2025, this will be our 6th annual revival that we host on the grounds of the courthouse where I was judged back in 2004. And I've gotten to reconnect with the judge. I've gotten to reconnect with people from my past. And I'm just like, what is life right now? Because now I'm not walking up to this courthouse getting judged. I'm walking up to this courthouse to point people to Jesus. And that's just been an amazing thing, man. So in 2020, when we had the first annual revival, that was, I can honestly say, even though I was raised in church my whole life, that night, December 12th, 2020, was a personal revival for Justin Gambino. That's the best way that I can put it. And that is actually whenever I started writing the Made New album that I released a couple years ago, that tells my story, tells my testimony in 13 songs. And now, being on the other side of that, it's crazy. Right now, I'm writing a book about it. I'm writing my first book. I don't know if I should say first.
First one that somebody else is going to read.
I'm writing a book, and writing and releasing. We're about to drop 5 new songs off. That's going to be on the 3rd album, and it's just been crazy, man. I'm so thankful for the opportunity to share this story that I've really, honestly, kept inside of me for a long time. But now God is opening the doors for me to share my testimony with just people that I come in contact with you, with people that are watching through the screen, and it's been really cool, man.
Yeah, we'll get into the new music here in just a second.
Yeah.
Before we get there, sometimes we think like the church kid, the homeschool kid doesn't fall into what you fell into, but this is not something that was just a Justin Gambino story. People have had these kind of things happen to them. You as an adult now who went through that, have you seen kids where you see the warning signs and maybe you've been able to step in and intervene and be like, look, I know what you're doing. It's not the path you want to go down.
Yeah. I would say it happens a lot on the road too when I'm on tour. And sometimes it can be a little bit of an awkward situation because the kid is probably there at the concert, like against his will or her will. And the parent's like, can you please come talk to my kid? They're like, and so it's really humbling to be approached by a parent. It's like, can you talk to my kid, or just listen to them, or say hi to them, or, and so at this point, like the child has heard my testimony, right? While I've been up on stage.
Yeah.
And, it's just super humbling. I've been asked to write letters to kids, and I've done that, write letters, pray for them, encourage them through letters, or even in person. And one thing that I've been asked quite a bit is like, what would you say to parents that have a prodigal son, have a prodigal daughter? What would you say to them? And I always say, no, don't stop praying for them. Because I'll never forget when my mom walked up to me after the first annual revival we had, and she came up to me with tears in her eyes, and she said, Justin, I've been waiting a long time for you to come back to the Father's house, and now you're home. And that just that moves me even today. Like, it just, knowing that my mom, she wore out that floor praying for this prodigal kid. And she never gave up on me. God never gave up on me. God knew exactly who my mom needed to be. And God knew exactly, just the stories that he's going to write through the current prodigals that are out there now. So my encouragement would be, just don't stop praying for them.
Yeah, and some of these kids have probably been helped by your story kind of indirectly, because the success rate of what happened in that courthouse probably made the judge maybe be lenient on some other kids later on when he saw that what he had offered you actually worked.
Yeah, it's interesting to think about. One crazy thing that happened, like it was actually at the Made New album release party a couple years ago. The judge bought a ticket. He came to the show. He approached me at my table, and he got like this close to my face. And my brother, who was witnessing this from across the room, took the picture. Like Justin and the judge is like standing face to face. And he just like brought me in close and he said, listen, I'm so proud of you. Like, I just remember just this gut feeling of like, this kid deserves a second chance. Like, I can see it, and who knows, man, how many times people get that second chance. And then, I think it's not only grace and mercy that maybe the judge has, but it's grace and mercy that God has on them.
It sounds like you may already have your album cover now, because that photo sounds like that should be worked into this album cover for this new music.
Which photo?
The photo of the judge in your face that your
man.
brother took. You got to get that to a designer and turn that into an album cover for this new music.
Man, that would be interesting, because I can see the photo in my face right now.
I can picture
in my
it,
mind.
and I haven't even seen it. Just your description.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's your story right there. So the way we've described this album,
full circle, man.
at least on the back cover, maybe.
Yeah.
You've already got the front cover figured out.
One thing that I thought of, I didn't do this for the Made New record. We chose a different photo. But one thing that I thought of was like, whenever, what do you call the pictures that kind of like change when you...
Yeah.
Just like, it'd be like my mugshot. You turn it and it's like a completely different person. I've posted this on my social medias, on my social media pages, where it's like side by side mugshot and at the revival. And it was like, just... Someone recently made a comment, I think it was on Facebook. In my mugshot, my eyes are open, right? Looking at the camera. But on stage at Revival, my eyes are closed. And someone said, it's crazy how in your mugshot your eyes are open, but yet you were blind. Just blind to what you were doing and the path that you were taking. But in the picture of you on stage at the Revival, your eyes are closed, yet you can see so clear. I was like,
that's good.
Sounds like a song.
Yeah.
Maybe it is. I don't know. But just really profound thing to say.
Yep.
It hit home for me.
All right, so let's talk about some of this music that's already out there. We'll talk about the new song in just a second, because technically, as we sit here, it's not out for a few more hours.
Yeah.
But you put out one a few weeks ago, Just Like Jesus.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that one.
Yeah, that one, I went on a songwriters retreat at the end of 2023 and wrote Just Like Jesus with a good friend. His name's James. And that song was just like, man, even whenever I was singing it at the songwriters retreat around all the other, that's like one thing that you do at a songwriters retreat. You write a song, and then whenever it's just hours old, you share it with everybody. And it can be really intimidating. But I could not get through that chorus without crying. And I just knew that like we had something special, where the chorus says, ain't it just like Jesus to leave the 99 for the one? Ain't it just like Jesus to throw a party for a prodigal son? And that was me, man. I was a prodigal. And writing that song has been so healing for me, just in declaring that like, man, I was a prodigal. He threw a party for me. He welcomed me back home. And I have been so enjoying seeing everyone's comments, because it's been out for a little over a month now, the Just Like Jesus song. And I've been so encouraged by the comments and the feedback from my audience and the people that have just been stumbling across it on playlists and whatnot. Just how it's been encouraging people, and encouraging people that have prodigals in their families. Like, it's just all in God's timing. Maybe not in ours, when those prodigals will decide to turn back home. But man, I just love the song, man. I'm glad you're willing to just have me on the show and talk about it. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, and as people get to watch this interview, there's going to be another song that's out there. For us, I won't get to hear it for a few more hours when it drops tonight, but these folks, it's already out there. So tell us about the new single.
Yeah, this new single is called You Were Always There. And if I can be honest with you, it is probably my favorite to date that I've written. I look back on my story of, I was in the desert on that tour in Iraq. God put the guitar back in my hands. I came home, was struggling with a bunch of things where now there's this opportunity for me to lead worship. God puts the guitar back in my hands, and God just kept pursuing me. God just kept pursuing my heart. I like to say that he is in relentless pursuit of me, just like the waves are in a relentless pursuit of the shore. They are not going to give up until they crash on that shore. And I feel like for me, that was his love, his grace, and his mercy just pouring out on me. And writing this song, it actually started 2 lines in my journal. I wrote the first 2 lines, that's the beginning of the song. You knew my name before I took a breath. You knew that I would run before I took a step, but you pursued my heart. I just had that written down in my journal. And my producer, we were collaborating, co-writing for the 3rd album, and he's like, you have any song ideas, anything you want to throw on the table while we're writing? And I was just going through my journal, and I saw those 2 lines, and I said, what if we chased a song with this idea? And within a few hours, we have this song written, and I just knew that it was special, man. I knew that it was something really to just, we've been working on it, something really to invest in, not just with time, but with the finances. I was like, if we're going to produce this with what I have envisioned in my mind, like, we're going to have to get a gospel choir on it. So we did that. We're going to have to get different players on it, different people playing different instruments that like I can hear in my mind. And Walter, the producer, he's really good at hearing those things, even better than I am. And but like being around him, I can start pick up on like where he's going with his direction of what he wants, how he wants the song to hear or to sound. And man, I'm just so proud of how it turned out. And yeah, it's kind of crazy that it's out there now, because we've been working on it today, we're filming today, May 23rd. We wrote it May 23rd last year. So it's been to the day that it's released. That's the day that we were sitting in the studio writing it. But the journal entry was actually September of 2023.
Wow.
Yeah.
So they can get the big studio version out there on all their streaming services now, but then they can come back to us and listen to the version you performed here today.
That's kind of how it started, in the studio, just acoustic and a vocal.
And you're really going to hear the emotion that you have for this song when you hear the acoustic version.
Yeah, man. Yeah, love it.
So when do we get to piece all this together? It sounds like we're leading our way into another EP/album.
Yes.
When will that project be around?
So right now, the way it's looking, now the 5-song EP that's going to be titled Just Like Jesus, that releases July 18th. And I think the way I'm going to do this is I'm going to release 2 EPs. And the second EP, we're actually in the process of producing now. That's going to be some original worship I've been working on for the last 2 years. And I don't know, don't hold me to it, but I'm thinking I'm going to call it The Garden. And there's a reason for that. I've been sharing my testimony more and more the last couple of years. And every time I share my testimony, it feels like I share it. I just remember certain things whenever I'm sharing it. So it feels like, and I know that there's times whenever I remember something that maybe I didn't say the last time I was sharing it. And so for me, whenever I'm sharing my testimony, it feels almost as if the Lord takes me by the hand and starts walking me through this garden. And he points out things that need to be uprooted. He points out things that need to be tended to, pruned, that need to be watered. And the first time he kind of gave me this mental imagery, I was actually on stage. And it was just an amazing thing. And I'll never forget. I was on stage at this church and sharing my testimony, and he's just dropping the little things in my heart, like, you need to share about this, you need to share about that, you need to share about the addiction to alcohol, you need to share about the thoughts of suicide. And I was like, Lord, you want me to do that right now in front of all these people? Like, I didn't clear this with the pastor beforehand. It's,
Yeah.
it's like, what can I say? What can I not say? It's all going to happen. And so for me, through that process of sharing my testimony, it almost feels like a walk through the garden. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely.
And so that's what the next EP is going to be about. But yeah, the Just Like Jesus EP, July 18th, that one's coming.
Yeah, and there's already a couple singles out there you can go listen to, and then plenty more music coming throughout the year and even in the next year, because you're in Nashville today working on a song with plans to come out in the spring of next year already. So keep a lookout for Justin Gambino and look him up on all your streaming services.